ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाखाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरून् श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सार्वधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदां सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धून एव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। I welcome you all for the Wednesday program. Thank you so much for joining in the Wednesday classes on a regular basis. In case even if you all are not able to join in, thank you for even hearing the recordings and catching up with whatever you all have not been able to attend. I'll just share the screen quickly for you all. So now actually we are going to start with the second chapter and we're going to enter into the second chapter. The second chapter is also very, very important chapter. Basically, second chapter after telling the problem and all, now the whole series is that okay, I have a problem, then what should I do? If I'm in a problem, then I need to go and seek help from an expert. Only an expert will be able to see my problem or will be able to give the solution to my problem. So now over here in this, the scene is that when Arjuna is, he's dejected, he's not able to decide anything. He puts down his Gandiva bow, and from there, from Hastinapur palace, Sanjay is giving his verdict, or he's actually telling to Dhritarashtra. So, you all can unmute yourselves and you all can repeat after me. Sanjay Uvacha
Sanjay Uvacha
Tam Tatha Kripayavishtam
Tam Tatha Kripayavishtam
Tam Tatha Kripayavishtam
Tam Tatha Kripayavishtam
Ashru Purna Kulekshanam
Ashru Purnakshanam
Ashru Purna Kulekshanam
Ashru Purnakshanam
Vishidantamidam Vakyam
Vishidam Idam Vakyam
Vishidantamidam Vakyam
Vishidam Vakyam
Uvacha Madhusudana
Uvacha Madhusudana
Uvacha Madhusudana
Uvacha Madhusudana
Thank you, devotees. You all can unmute yourselves. Sorry, you all can mute yourselves. Okay, let's read the translation. Sanjay said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana Krishna spoke the following words. So now in this first paragraph, Srila Prabhupada is going to speak about what is compassion. Material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. The word Madhusudana is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. A man fallen in the ocean of nescience cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, that is his body, the gross material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him. This chapter instructs us in self-realization by analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority Lord Krishna. This realization is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive results and is situated in the fixed conception of the real self. So, Srila Prabhupada very nicely is actually speaking over here that where should compassion be applied. So over here he is comparing material compassion and spiritual compassion. So there are two distinct entities, that is one material compassion and spiritual compassion. So Prabhupada is describing material compassion as rescuing only the coat of a drowning man. The sentiment may be very sincere, but the compassion is misplaced. So, to understand spiritual compassion, we have to understand the essence of the living entity in his or her real spiritual relation with the Supreme Lord. So, without this particular knowledge, if we do not have, then we will not be able to understand the best interest for even our own selves. Then, what to speak about others? So, without spiritual understanding, all our attempts at compassion will not benefit anybody, neither the soul nor the body. Now, Srila Prabhupada, he wanted to actually influence people everywhere to give up all the sinful activities and to just surrender to Krishna. And he was definitely successful also because he combined humility and dependence on Guru and Krishna, and he had a lot of confidence in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's power to deliver the fallen souls. So, although we may think of a world, a reformer as, he's very aggressively ambitious, we should know that for one on the spiritual platform, humility and confident ambition are not mutually exclusive, because the devotee knows that he is representing the most powerful person, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is why he is very confident. And because he sees himself as the Lord's servant, he is deeply humble also. So, in one of the poems of Srila Prabhupada, when he was on a voyage to the United States of America in 1965, he's expressing his sentiment. He's saying that he's actually telling to his own spiritual master, saying that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is very dear to Lord Gauranga, and who is Gauranga? He is the mother of he's the son of Mother Sachi, and is unparalleled in his service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Now, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur is that great, saintly spiritual master who is bestowing intense devotion to Krishna at different places throughout the world. So now, by his strong desire, the holy name of Gauranga is spread, far and wide, even in the Western countries, in every town and every village, from oceans to the seas to the rivers to the streams, and everybody will chant the holy names of the Lord. So, and he always says that my Guru Maharaj has ordered me to accomplish the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'm not a very worthy person. I'm a very fallen, insignificant person. So this is his humility. So Srila Prabhupada in one way is like an empowered reformer. So there may be many world reformers as well as many persons who merely try to reform a little circle in their own lives. And some of these reformers may have even expressed humility, but their attempts to create a compassionate change in the world are misplaced, like saving only the coat of the drowning man. So the coat is compared to the body, and the drowning man is compared to the soul. So Srila Prabhupada, however, whom Krishna imbued to the extreme with dynamic combination of this humility and spiritual confidence, he was able to save the world. So Srila Prabhupada applied his compassion first in converting the non-devotees and then in preaching to his new disciples. So if we find ourselves, sometimes we take, spiritual life has to be, for granted. We should always remember that, this ISKCON society was not developed automatically or just in one day. It developed because Srila Prabhupada made such a careful and relevant presentation of the Krishna conscious philosophy. And it developed because Prabhupada expanded this great love and care to adjust Krishna's eternal message to the Western world, which was the order of his spiritual master. So, one example of this is Prabhupada allowing women to live in ISKCON centers, where women are not supposed to actually live in the, they're supposed to live in a proper Grihastha ashram. And another example is where Prabhupada first instructed his disciples to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra on the beads. So Prabhupada's spiritual master had taught that initiated devotees must chant 64 rounds a day, otherwise they are considered fallen. But Prabhupada mentioned 64 rounds to his new disciples. But, Prabhupada mentioned 64, rounds, but he could see that, 16 rounds, 64 rounds chanting was very difficult and impossible for them. So that's where, Prabhupada negotiated between his disciples, and then he set this minimum daily quota of 16 rounds. So this is his compassion. I'm giving examples of Prabhupada's compassion and how he was very compassionate to his disciples also within ISKCON assets. So we could call all these examples of leniency more than of compassion. But leniency is a constituent of compassion. Prabhupada sincerely wanted people to take up to Krishna consciousness. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada was not very rigid. That is, he was willing to bend and adjust according to time, place, and circumstance. And this is an example of his compassion. So when Prabhupada was asked that if disciples could write his biography, then his reply, illuminated in one line that the compassion behind his apparent legacy. That he says, if you write my life story, you should say that what I did was like transplanting a tulsi plant. In other words, what Prabhupada is trying to say is that Prabhupada did not ignore the cultural differences between India and America. Rather, he preserved the Vedic plant and fed it according to the conditions of the Western soil and environment. So he also definitely he was very concerned about preserving that plant. So therefore, he was ready or he was willing to adjust his preaching to suit the Western mentality. And yet he did not alter the purity or authenticity of Krishna's message. So, Prabhupada expressed compassion in his willingness to preach to anyone, including the receptive hippies whom he had encountered in the West. Prabhupada was completely different from the American and the European hippies. So, he was cultured, he was an elderly man, and he was completely transcendental. And yet, when he looked out to his audience of hippies, then he chose to look beyond the groovy exteriors to see that, see the heart. So he preached wherever it was favorable, and Krishna rewarded him in that way. So one time he even preached to a nudist commune also, holding kirtan and lectures. And afterwards, some of the members they changed their ways, and they were requesting that can we join your movement, and that's why Prabhupada was so very compassionate, so very compassionate. So also Prabhupada did care for his fallen disciples also. He had a lot of compassion. If somebody went away and came back, he was still very compassionate. It's just like, for example, a child who is very rebellious and he goes away from his home, so and he realizes his mistake and he comes back, so the father definitely will be very compassionate to that particular child कि okay, सुबह का भूला शाम को लौट के आया है तो उसके भूला नहीं कह सकते. So coming to Krishna consciousness is very rare, but Prabhupada told us to be amazed, not that so many are leaving, but you should be amazed that so many are staying. And we are spending so much of gallons and gallons of blood, he said, just to make one person a Krishna conscious person or a devotee. So following Srila Prabhupada's example, we too should be compassionate with our devotees, or even the people who are not chanting Hare Krishna, or even to the animals, what to speak about human beings also. So instead of finding faults with people, or with minor discrepancies, that we should remember that it took so much of great effort for Srila Prabhupada to introduce them to Krishna consciousness. And we should also remember that whoever takes up to Krishna consciousness is very dear to Srila Prabhupada, is very dear to Krishna. And each of us, as the servant of Prabhupada, we should also help them, help the others to become properly situated in their Krishna consciousness, and where actually, and where we should preserve what Prabhupada has worked so hard to establish this. So if we do this, then Krishna will be compassionate towards us despite our many faults. So when you give compassion, you get compassion. When you give Krishna, you get Krishna. So it is like a give and take thing. That I always give this example, that if you protect dharma, then dharma will protect you. It's like like a give and take. So Prabhupada expressed compassion in all his activities, and out of compassion he wrote so many books, and so much of battling he did with all these atheists and Mayavadis, and he reprimanded his disciples. And out of compassion, he does not tolerate any interference in the flow of Krishna's mercy to the living entities. Therefore we pray that to Prabhupada throughout the day, that Prabhupada, why we actually chant Prabhupada Pranam mantra. So we are chanting that we want to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada. We also want to have compassion, like how. So by comparison with Prabhupada, we are on such a low level, but Prabhupada is very dear to Krishna, and that he can awake a devotional creeper and purify us of our mixed motives and impure chanting, and give us the confidence to reach the goal. So Prabhupada is compassionate and he is realistic also. So he compassionately gives his followers practical, relevant services in carrying out his mission. That is why, see the four principles. What did he say? He says that purity is the force, utility is the principle, books are the basis, and preaching is the essence. So we therefore, pray to have faith in our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and we pray for the confidence to continue hearing him and serving him and, accepting protection from him. So this is actually, when we say about compassion, where, even in the Bhagavad Gita, actually, Krishna is saying about compassion. So, compassion is like a very broader term where we say, so, if, like, for example, if we see someone in trouble, we may naturally want to help him. And if they are in trouble because of something that they are doing wrong, so then they may, need to show them that how, they are wrong. So, many a times, because of egos and all, we tend to find faults with others. But even when we are compassionately seeking to help others, our ego, that sneaks in and impels us to subconsciously, enjoy correcting them. So no one likes actually to be corrected as such, but if we genuinely want to correct that particular person and genuinely want to have compassion for that person and bring him up from his precarious condition, then things will then that is really called compassion. Otherwise, if we are not in that particular mood, then we won't be able to have compassion. And that is why, compassion is so very important in this life, that when we show compassion, it is so wonderful that yes, this particular person is coming to Krishna consciousness because of the compassion that we have. And primarily, when Arjuna over here, where he's having material compassion, and out of that compassion, the immediate reaction is that he's lamenting, he's having tears, and lamenting and having tears, these are all signs of ignorance for the real self. So then real compassion is that we go out and preach to people, those who are suffering, those who do not know that I am the body and I'm not the body, I am the soul. That particular realization we need to have. So in the month of December, we all devotees in ISKCON, we show compassion. We move out on streets, we move out in markets, we move out in trains, buses, we move out in fun fairs distributing the Bhagavad Gita. So this is actually the first two lines of the paragraph where completely, compassion is to be applied. Now, we have many, many examples of misplaced compassion also. Like, for example, Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj was the king of the whole world. And at one point of time, he felt that, okay, I want to renounce everything and I want to go in the jungle. And if you see in the yoga ladder, he had reached the bhava stage and he was just about to get the prema level. But all of a sudden, Bharat Maharaj fell prey to that little small baby deer. And he became so attached, he became so concerned, he became so worried about that little deer that once when the deer was not seen by Bharat Maharaj, he went hunting for that. And he was so absorbed in finding, and he was so blind in finding that there was a big cliff in front of Bharat Maharaj, but he could not see that. And he actually fell from that cliff, and he was just about to die. And all of a sudden, from nowhere, when he fell down, he was about to leave his body. From nowhere, that little small deer came in front of his eyes. So now he actually went, he left his body in the consciousness of that small deer. Where Krishna says, Yam Yam Vapi Smaranam Tajeti Anti Kalevaram. So, whatever thoughts you are having at the time of death, that only same body you will take in another birth, in the next birth, or in the next body. So, Bharat Maharaj actually was thinking about that deer, and in his next life, he became a deer. He had to take the body of a deer because the last moment he was thinking about that deer. But Bharat Maharaj got another chance to, he got a second chance to fulfill his, human form of birth. From a deer, again, he became Jad Bharat, and then he was able to perfect his life. But we do not know that whether we will get a second birth or not, a second human birth or not. Why waste time in false compassion to, different, and false attachments to different people who are nowhere concerned? Sometimes, rather than giving some thing substantial to that particular person, we get stuck up in giving something not substantial to that person. So if we want to only give some gift to anybody, then the best gift is to actually give him. Or if you want to give, we want to have only compassion for everybody, then the best compassion is make him chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, so that he can realize that he is the eternal soul, and his journey of self realization starts from there. Now, in this particular first shloka of this first, first text in the second chapter, from here onwards, actually, we'll start many, many things. So now Arjuna is, having further doubts, and he wants to actually surrender to Krishna. So when Arjuna will be actually, in the subsequent is that Arjuna will present more doubts and reasoning to avoid fighting in the second chapter. So then Arjuna gets completely confused, and after he gets completely confused, his relationship with Krishna changes from a friend to a guru disciple relationship. So in this first section from shloka number 1 to 10, if you see that he's expressing his further doubts of not fighting, and then in the seventh shloka he actually surrenders to Krishna. So the first 10 shlokas will definitely, are telling us that when a particular person is in ignorance of the real self, then what will he do? He'll have material compassion, he will have lamentation, and he will have tears. And also Prabhupada in this particular purport, he's mentioning about a word called Shudra. What is the meaning of the word Shudra? The definition of Shudra is means to a Shudra is lamenting for the outward dress, that is the gross body, or one who laments unnecessarily. So, and that's why Prabhupada is giving this analogy of compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. And similarly, a man who's fallen into the oceans of nescience, भवसागर के अंधकार में जब डूब गया है, cannot be saved simply by rescuing his, gross body. So, when you say that, when you say ignorance versus self-realization, then compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. Ignorance will be what? That you want to save the drowning man. That is ignorance. And mute yourselves. Please mute yourselves. Yeah, thank you so much. So, just got so okay. So now there is one more word actually is being specified in this particular shloka, and that is this word called Madhusudana. So why is Arjuna addressing Krishna as Madhusudana? Because Krishna actually killed a demon called Madhu demon. Okay. So Arjuna is requesting Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. So what is this particular story of Madhu demon? So one time what had happened is that actually this demon was not killed by Krishna, but actually this demon was killed by actually Lord Vishnu. So Madhu was not killed by Krishna at all. So because Krishna's original form did not actually kill Madhu demon. It was Vishnu who is Krishna's expansion, and who did away with this Madhu Kaitaba. So This story I'll just discuss in a minute or two. So Vishnu killed Madhu through his Hayagriva incarnation. Hayagriva incarnation is the horse like body of the Lord, and it is celebrated in many texts of the Puranas also. So in identifying Krishna as Madhusudana, then Gita is making a somewhat covert connection between Krishna and Vishnu, and it is offering us a glimpse of Krishna's divinity. So somebody might add, what is in a name Madhusudana? So this Madhusudana, this first appears in the first chapter, before Krishna reveals to Arjuna that both he and his he and Arjuna had taken many births, and he shows his divinity to Arjuna in the 11th chapter. So this particular uh, Madhusudana word that is there, it is actually Arjuna is in an illusion. It's just like Arjuna is actually not in an illusion. It is just a Leela or transcendental pastime that is arranged by the Lord. That is to say that he placed in a temporary state of forgetfulness so that Krishna could speak the Bhagavad Gita to instruct Arjuna, and through him actually teach the whole world. Sometimes they say that the uh, if the mother-in-law wants to actually teach the daughter-in-law, then she will teach through the daughter to the daughter-in-law. So of course, like sometimes many times they say that that the mother-in-law always wants to have a this to put out a daughter-in-law, but that's not the case. Sometimes the mother-in-laws are also good. So this story of Madhu demon is revealed in Kalki Purana, the Devi Bhagavata and the Mahabharata. So Srila Prabhupada very briefly mentions the story in the Krishna book in this chapter called Prayers of Akrura. And in one of the Bhagavatam purports also is mentioning that in the beginning, the spiritual world was brought forth in the material universe, and the wherein Lord Vishnu then was actually into a deep, he was in his deep slumber on on the bed of Shesha, the serpent bed. So while Lord Vishnu slept, then a lotus flower grew from his navel, and from that, Brahma appeared, the first created living being. And Lord Vishnu then gave him the charge of creation, and he meditated on how he could accomplish his given task, Brahma. So it is said that Brahma sat in very deep meditation, and from his ear wax, flowed from Vishnu's ears. There were two ferocious demons who came up, and one was Madhu and one was Kaitaba, who were born out of that wax. So they performed very great penance for thousands and thousands of years, and pleased by their penance, Mother Lakshmi, who is the wife of Lord Vishnu or the consort of Lord, she appeared before them and granted them the boon that they would die only when they desired so. Swa ichha se wo log mar sakte the. So now what happened? These two demons, they become very proud because they became after they, and see what happens when you acquire something, some assets or something different than the others, then we should be very humble. But these people became outrageously arrogant, and then what they did, they started attacking Brahma, who was still meditating on the lotus stem, and stole from him the four Vedas. So, Brahma was really helpless. And in the presence of such, powerful this, so he actually rushed to Lord Vishnu for asking help. And Vishnu also was, deep sleep, and he did not wake up, even though Brahma tried his best to wake him up. So, realizing that the Lord slept for, his own reasons, Brahma decided to pray to Yoga Nidra, who was none other than, Mother Lakshmi herself, in a special form to assist the Lord's yogic sleep. So Brahma had, hoped that she showed some mercy on, and she showed some mercy and tried to awaken the Lord who was actually sleeping. Then Brahma then told Vishnu about the, deeds of Madhu and Kataba, and he begged to them that please destroy them. So Lord Vishnu now manifests as Hayagriva, the beautiful horse incarnation, and then he fought with Madhu and Kaitaba. Ultimately, retrieving all the Vedic scriptures that they had stolen from Brahma, and so they could die only when they wanted to, because their boon had, they had got a boon from Madan. So Vishnu cleverly told them that just as Goddess Lakshmi had given them a boon, they should give him one boon. So after all, he told them that they were so powerful that they should show him some courtesy, that his wife, that is his feminine half, and his you know wife had shown some mercy on them, they should also show. So in their arrogance, they fell to his ruse. And what boon do you want from us? They asked Lord Vishnu. So we will give you anything you want. So then the Lord is replying that I want your death. And so Hayagriva, put an end to their, menace once and for all. So Srila Prabhupada is actually, in one of his purports, he writes that, what does he write? He says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his transcendental form is always ready to give protection to his devotees. So the Lord in this Hayagriv incarnation, he killed the two demons Madhu and Kaitaba when they had attacked Lord Brahma. So even modern demons think that there was no life in the beginning of the creation, but from Srimad Bhagavatam we understand that the first living creature created by the Supreme Lord was Lord Brahma, who had full Vedic understanding. And unfortunately, those who are entrusted with distributing this knowledge, such devotees are engaged in spreading Krishna consciousness, and they might be attacked by some demons, but they must be, assured that all these demonic activities will not be able to harm them. Why? Because the Lord is always ready to give them protection. And uh, so this Madhu word now is, he said, he who defeated the demon Madhu, which means that he who defeats, Madhu means actually honey also. He who defeats honey in sweetness. So which means what, the Lord is even sweeter than honey. So even Sridhar Swami has actually, defined this as, what did he say? So false ego is as sweet as honey, and it resides in the heart of everyone, making one forget his own identity, and it is intoxicating everyone. So Krishna is one who destroys the false ego with the torchlight of knowledge, and that is why he is called Madhusudana. So this word has come to refer to both the bumblebee also and Krishna also. Just as the bumblebees, they tend to enjoy the honey of the lotus, and Krishna also enjoys the honey of his devotees' love. So Srila Rupa Goswami also, one of our great saints, they say that he also uses a dual meaning for Madhusudana in one of his books called what is that book's name? Vigada Madhav. Yeah. So there is a very nice story actually in Vigada Madhav. He says that once when Radha and Krishna, they were sitting together, a bee was again and again disturbing Srimati Radharani, flying near her. So Krishna requested one of his friends to chase away that bumblebee. And after finishing that particular, or after driving away that bumblebee, the friend came back saying that Madhu has gone. Right. And as you know, if you see that this word Madhu can either refer to the bee or Krishna also. So Radharani is mistakenly took it in the later sense and began to cry, thinking that Krishna has now gone. So even though the Lord was right there, and even she was also there, and she was in Krishna's arms. She was totally, gripped by her this, viraha bhav or vipralamba bhav, the mood of separation. That is, only in advanced Vaishnavas these symptoms are seen. So, seeing Radharani's tears of love, Krishna also began to cry. And their tears, mingled together to become a very sacred pond in Vrindavan called the Prem Sarovar that is there, So now in this, Prabhupada is also referring to this introductory, text, which is actually inspired. So he's saying Madhusudana. And this Madhusudana is so ultimately, actually, Radharani is responsible for Krishna's becoming Madhusudana, both by her ecstasy also she's imagining separation from him, and by expanding herself also as Lakshmi and Yoga Nidra, and these are all these chief actors in the pastime of the Lords killing the demon Madhu, and that's how actually Arjuna is calling Krishna as Madhusudana. So these are some of the elaborate word explanations for this particular two words. That are special two words are there, that is compassion and Madhusudana. So, so what is the role of this chapter 2 in self-realization? Somebody might ask, okay, Prabhupada is saying that compassion for the real self is, self-realization. So then actually the second chapter is teaching jnana. Jnana means knowledge. The analytical study of material body and spiritual soul. By whom? It is taught by the Supreme Lord himself, who's Krishna. So he's the supreme teacher also. He's teaching Buddhi Yoga also, the path of activity also. What should we do if I want self-realization? So as the path of self-realization, it is involving two things. The path of self-realization involves to work without attachment to fruitive results and to fix oneself in the real self. So a person should be fixed in the conception of the real self. And this is what actually the first chapter is actually teaching. The second chapter is teaching self-realization. And if you see, the most elaborate chapter in the whole of the Bhagavad Gita is the second chapter and the last chapter, that is the 18th chapter. So now in the next shlokas, Krishna will respond seeing Arjuna's lamentation, because Krishna is seeing his lamentation, and Krishna does not approve his lamentation, and he's actually, he condemns. He says that, what is this? For example, sometimes even our friend comes to us and what are you lamenting for? You're crying for? Don't you know that these things are all temporary. These things are completely weakness of the heart. So in a very friendly and a joking way, Krishna is going to condemn his lamentation, material compassion, and his tears as such. So I halt over here. If anybody has any questions, queries, doubts, reflections, comments, I am opening up the floor for the comments. Y'all can raise your hands and maybe if you'll have any. Maybe some things might just have gone bonkers for y'all, but don't worry. It's not necessary that you understand word to word of what I was speaking. Even if you've grasped some major Prabhupada purport line also, and if you have understood those also, that is also valid. Don't worry. You're not losing anything. It's just that you're going to build up slowly, to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead at the end of the 18th chapter. Right? Yes, anybody has any queries, questions? Yeah, Bindu Mataji, you can ask.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandot Pranam.
You're not audible. You'll have to come a little near to the mic.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandot Pranam. Is audible?
A little less audible.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I'm audible now, right now?
Yes, now you're audible.
Mataji have said about that the Bharat Maharaj story. While we are in the near to death, whoever we think we can, that next birth will take the body. So suppose if we think of a spiritual master or teacher, so or a parent who gave us the life so much for them, a journey we have spent with them, do we take the same?
So we need to think about, are the parents well situated in Krishna consciousness? Or definitely, if you're thinking about a spiritual master, then definitely, because in the spiritual world also, you have a spiritual master whom you will be assisting. Every living entity has a master in the spiritual world also. Like the manjaris are, subordinate to the sakhis. The sakhis are subordinate to the gopis. So the prime masters are the gopis. Then the prime masters are the prime masters are gopis to the manjaris, and manjaris are the masters to the sakhis. And there are many gradations also, priya narma sakhis and narma sakhis, and all that gradations are there, the hierarchy is there. But primarily, if you see that, we will be under some person assisting the Supreme Lord under his expert guidance or her expert guidance as such. But in this case, we'll have to see that if you're thinking about a spiritual master, definitely going back to Godhead. But if you're thinking about relatives and all, but those relatives also position, we see that. Okay. Yeah, your voice is not. Your voice is not audible, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. God understood. Or spiritual master, if you think you can go to Krishna.
Yes. Spiritual master, Lord Krishna himself, pure devotees.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Anybody else has any question? Doubts, clarifications? Okay, so if you all have understood everything, then we wind up for the day then. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki jai, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.